introduce Rashim, our best-selling author. A woman evangelist in tech, Rashim has worked in Oracle, Amazon Web Services AWS, and VMware, where she built high-performing teams supporting business worth over $2 billion. Imagine that. So finding out more about Rashim's life journey, we have Sophie Malik, Senior Channels Sales Director of Skillsoft Asia Pacific. Like many of us, she is a daughter, a wife, mother, and a sales leader that always meets her target. So let's welcome Sophie to have the real talk with Rashim. So Sophie, like you, I also read about Rashim a lot, and I really admired your drive and work, Rashim. As a mother, daughter, wife, leader myself, I have difficulty to juggle my time. And one more, to talk about building my brand and building businesses. So, I wonder how you do it, Rashim, and Sophie, you too, right?
Well, yes, I think it's quite challenging to have such a multiple role. So when I read your book, a lot of things is really, really relatable. Something that you really look at, and something you really very, 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 relevant. So really interested to hear what exactly when you do this book, how do you think, and what exactly in your mind, and what is inspire you to write this book? Can you share, Rashim?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you for having me over here. I'm super excited to join everybody. Good morning to you all, and thank you for taking our time today to join us as we celebrate Women's History Month. So, Sophie, as you know, you and I have had discussions before, and you know that I moved to US about 15 years ago. I wanted to find my American dream. I wanted to make sure that essentially, whatever dreams and goals that I had, I was able to achieve them. And that's why I moved to the US. And when I got here, I realized that it wasn't so easy for a woman of color in United States in leadership positions. I had my own share of struggles that I had to deal with. I was passed over for promotion multiple times. My ideas were stolen. Oftentimes I just had seat at the table and not voice at the table. And that was a rude awakening for me, because I thought, how can you move to a developed country, a first world country, and have that kind of bias exist? And that was a rude awakening. So 15 years of my life I spent over here trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. How do I still grow in my career and not lose my values, my ethics, and stay true to myself? That was the hard part. So in 2018, even before that, I would say I was speaking a lot about these issues, but in 2018, I really started talking about it, because for me, it was so important that we as women define what our success is. We're not, it's not decided by society. I come from India, where being married, having kids, having a big title in a big company, having a fat paycheck, that's what defines your success. But we are so much more than that. And so many of us might not even find happiness in that. I remember when I was an individual contributor, I thought, hey, when I become a manager, I would be the happiest person. And then I became a manager, and then I wasn't happy in that role either. And then I thought, once I get a director title, that's it. Then I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy life. And when I was a director, I realized that actually I never had a director title. I moved from a senior manager to straight away to a senior director position. But I wasn't happy then either. And that's when I realized, and that's when I started diving deep and saying, what is it that makes us truly happy? And for me, it was making sure that I became the voice to so many other women. And that's why I started speaking about it. So I distinctly remember it was May of 2018. I was speaking at Women Transforming Technology Conference. It was a sold out session. I remember the person who actually hired me to speak at the event, she was standing out of the room listening into my event because she couldn't find a seat in that session herself. And as I delivered the session and I was walking down the stage, a group of women leaders came to me and wanted to chat with me. And they said, that was a very powerful session. Do you have a book? And I said, I don't have a book yet. I'll have one soon. I had no idea where that book would come from. I had all the content because I had delivered the session. But then on my way back from Palo Alto to Livermore, I was frenetically calling all my friends who had published books saying, hey, do you have a publisher? I need to publish a book. I just promised on the stage that I'll have a book soon. So in September of 2018, we launched Fast Track Your Leadership Career. It's over here. And within 11 hours of its release, it became an Amazon bestseller. And I did not know what hit me because I was like, okay, I have a book. Now it's a bestseller. And then I started receiving all these emails from people, not just women, but men and people from LGBTQ plus community as well. And all of them said, we understand that you marketed it as a women's leadership book, understand the whole marketing strategy around it. But what you wrote in this book is so relevant to me and to all of us. And they wanted to take the conversation forward. So I come from a technology background. So my first thought process was, but should I build a platform? Because we all think in terms of, should I build a SaaS platform? Should I start working on something like that? But then I've always taken risks in life, and I come from also a very agile background. So I was like, let's start small. What is it that I can do today? Not tomorrow, not day after, not wait for the product to be built. And that's when I launched EVOW, which is Empowered Women of the World platform. It's an intellectual platform that helps leaders discover, visualize, and actualize their success, whatever that means to them. It's defined by them and not anybody else. And that's how EVOW was born. We started off with a podcast, which is now listened in over 50 countries. Wow. And last year, it was invited by Amazon Music and Audible to be launched on their platform as well. So there you go. That's the story of Fast Track Your Leadership Career.
Congratulations that you have so many platforms that you can voice out what you want to achieve. I read the book Fast Track, and what I really like is how easy and simple, that is not very theoretical, it's so relatable. Okay, one particular chapter that I really like is building your brand. So I thought if you can just tell us the top 3, how do you build the brand? So it's something that woman or whichever woman of color or even Asian, I always get kind of different treatment. Yeah. So could you?
Absolutely. So basically, when you start thinking about building your personal brand, the most important thing to understand over there is that it's your brand, right? Nobody can tell your story better than you. There's so many times when I talk to various women leaders and I talk to, emerging women leaders as well. And they would say, Rashim, really, after 18 hours of work, I have to go back, take care of my kids. I do not know how will I find time to build my personal brand. And my response to them is, you can outsource cooking, you can outsource, activities, errands. What you cannot outsource is your own brand because you know your story the best. So first and the most important thing is you have to take out 30 minutes every day to make sure that you are investing in yourself. That's extremely, extremely important. The second piece to that is you have to identify what your superpower is, because you really can't build your brand without knowing what sets you apart from others.
Wow.
And then you have to start thinking about, if this is my superpower, if this is what I relate to, how am I going to let others know that this is my brand? So in my case, my superpower is make it happen. I know that I can sift through the dust, I can look into a strategy, and then I can put it into an executable plan that my team can operationalize. That's my superpower. So then you start talking about your superpower often, so I would have conversations with my leaders and they would say, Rashim, this is really hard. We have to make it successful. And I would say, for sure we will, because I have make it happen superpower. And then everybody gets excited because everybody wants to know what your superpower is, right? And then you start talking about it as you start putting out your brand. What do you stand for? So for me, what is really, really important is empowering leaders. It's extremely important to provide equal opportunities. What I believe in is making this world an equal world for all. And to get there, we have to tackle inclusiveness, we have inclusivity, we have to tackle equity, we have to tackle so many things before we get there. But that's what I stand for. And that's why when you start building your brand, you would have seen I invest considerable amount of time connecting with my network on LinkedIn. I put forward my thoughts, and then I also speak at events, right? I'm a podcaster, I'm a content creator. I am on LinkedIn connecting with people and sharing my thoughts. And that's how you go about building your brand. Now, there is one thing that I would like to highlight. There's so many times when I have conversations with people who are very nervous to put out something on social media, who are very nervous to put out something on LinkedIn saying, but I'm not an expert. You know, I don't think like that. What if somebody says anything to me?
Or disagree.
Or disagrees, right? So you have to be okay with that discomfort as well. But the most important thing is that in today's day and age, nobody is an expert. And you have to realize that.
That is powerful. That is so powerful.
We're all learning, right? And leaders do not have all the answers. The reality is that leaders do not have all the answers, but leaders know which resources to tap into to get those answers. And that's what it is all about. So as long as you put forward your thoughts on social media, you invite healthy conversation around it, it's perfectly okay to share your thoughts around certain topic areas that you are passionate about. If any of you wants inspiration around how to get started, I'm actually, I am doing a newsletter series on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow me and subscribe to that LinkedIn newsletter series, and you'll get ideas on how you can start building your personal brand. And I invite you to comment on those and start building your brand and your network with that. So it's an open invitation to anybody who is out there today listening to this.
Wow. So powerful few minutes, but you cover so much about building your brand. Spend 30 minutes every day, no matter, how busy you are. And then don't forget that you share it and communicate what you stand for. So that is really, really important. Well, as a woman, it's so hard for us to juggle as a daughter, as a family, as a mother, as a wife. I realize that you have a very beautiful family. And also, I just post out this blog post that I read when the first time I got so inspired and talk about it with Yati and Aichin. So can you share how do you juggle being a mother, being a wife, and all this priority that you have, as well as all the work and speaking engagement and so on?
So I think it all goes back to having a very strong support system. I just want to make sure it's light over here. So I just want, okay. So for me, what was most important is typically when we think about support system, Sophie, we think about, whom can we call when the day is not good, right? When we have a horrible day at work, whom can I call? Or who is going to pick up the kids? Who is going to drop the kids? Who is going to take care of the aging parents if they need to be taken to the doctor? Who is going to run errands? But for me, what has really helped me is having a holistic support system, which is basically I diversify the support that I need from people. So I have an intellectual support system. If I have a great idea, if I want to, when I wanted to start, for example, EWOW, and when I needed to podcast, whom can I call and understand how to go about podcasting? Early on in my life, I built a very strong support system to help me out. So my mom lives with me. I'm very blessed. She helps out a lot with the kids. My kids understand what I do. You would often see my kids at speaking engagements that I do. I bring them along if I can. I want my son to see what his mother does, and I want my daughter to see what I do. I want to change the mindset of my son that women can't do things, if at all he gets into a thought process like that. And then I want my daughter to see that she can do everything that she wants to do. So that's very important for me. I have also, it's all about managing expectations. So my kids know now that come what may, mama will figure out a way to make healthy food and put it on the table. That dinner would always be available. And if the door is closed and mama is doing something, they understand that it's important to her and it's valuable to her. And that's what gives her joy. And my kids respect that very much. It's also because from the very beginning, I've been very open with my kids and have had very candid conversations around it. We still, as a family, find time at nighttime to spend some family time together. Before I put my kids to bed, we all do a gratitude prayer. I'm a Hindu. I don't practice my religion, but I believe in a superpower. So we do the Gayatri Mantra every night, and then my kids thank the superpower above for all the bounties during the day. So it can be as simple as, thank you, God, for the candies that we got today. Or it could be as complicated as, thank you for, a wonderful day, a peaceful day. But basically, that's how we build that family time in there, and yet have support in the family to help me do what I want to do.
Wow. So I pick up a lot of things here about the support system. I think we cannot all do it ourselves if our family are not supportive, right? And then setting expectation, that can be also family and also work. And finally, gratitude. I think gratitude is so important, to just be happy and be grateful even for small things that we have. So that is also go to another topic about what is your why? What keep you awake? When we go to the sales kickoff is Skillsoft, everybody asking, what is your why? For me, what is my why is making impact to others people, even small impact or big impact. How about you, Rashim? What is your why?
My why is seeing this world an equal world for all. I truly believe that talent is equally distributed, opportunities are not. And I've seen that firsthand. And my why is, how do I bring opportunities for everybody? How do I make sure that everybody is empowered to be successful the way they want to be successful? And that's my why.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. I think the being woman is always there. There's so many why, and you are not focused on what you want to do, right? But you make it so simple and so focused. That is really, really interesting. So what exactly, how you bring your kid into your engagement, and how do you spend more time when our time every day, it was so limited, right? 24 hours a day. How do you, juggle all these kind of things?
It's not easy, I will tell you. And if you talk to my kids, pick up the phone and talk to my kids will still say that I don't spend enough time with them. Probably every mother gets to hear that. And pretty soon they're teenagers and then they don't want you to spend any time with them because their time becomes so important then.
Correct.
So for me, I blocked my morning time, 45 minutes in the morning. I go and drop them. If I can walk to their school, we're blessed to live very close to their school. So if I can walk and drop them to their school, that's some time that I get to spend with them. I also pick up my kids in the afternoon. I block that another half an hour to pick them up. And then in the evening times, I want to make sure that I am there for them. So my daughter is now 9 years old. She's just getting used to doing her hair herself and trying out new dresses for the school next day. And I get to spend some time with her doing her hair or trying out new styles with her. Or sometimes she's part of the leadership group in her school. She's in 4th grade. And sometimes she wants to talk about what they did in the leadership class and how she was a conflict manager one time and she wanted to talk about it. We also have our Empowered Women of the World Summit coming up on April 23rd. So Ria, my 9-year-old daughter, actually wants to speak at that summit. And
wow.
we have, so we're trying to see if we can carve out like 5 minutes in the schedule for her to speak about imposter syndrome, because as a 4th grader, being 9 years old, there's so much pressure in the society, as you can imagine, peer pressure to look beautiful, to be slim, to have makeup on. And she is a very strong-willed 9-year-old, and she wants to talk about it. And she wants to talk about body shaming, and she wants to talk about all these pieces where you think that you're not good enough. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that. And she already has ideas around the startup that she wants to build. So I'm very excited about it, but that's how we connect and build trust with each other.
Or block your time, no matter how small, and quality time. That is also very, very powerful from you. I think I asked too much question. Maybe we just open up if there's anybody want to ask from Rashim directly. Yati, do you want to read up some of them?
Yati is on mute, I guess.
Yati, unmute.
Okay, we have amazing comments. People are saying that they are echoing Rashim. Yeah, and we definitely need to make some time, for ourselves. Yeah, and everybody is finding you very inspiring, Rashim.
We all inspire each other. That's the power of being part of a community and being part of the tribe.
Yeah, I like it. Rashim, what struck me most is really about the support system. Well, as women, we are natural jugglers, isn't it? I never went to school to learn that when you get out, when you get married, you're supposed to allocate time for husband, for children, for parents. Naturally, we kind of learn how to do that. I myself have 2 children, and my father is living with me, so I believe that the support system has to be there for you to become successful. Like yourself, I would love to send my son to school in the morning, and I will try to make sure that I will cook at the end of the day for dinner, and we will make sure that we have dinner at least once a day to meet everyone, before these teenager kids start going into their rooms, But other than that, besides our own family system, we also have helpers, we have brothers, sister-in-laws who always come in and jump in whenever we need them. Because like myself, like yourself, Sophie, we used to travel a lot, right? During pre-COVID time. So there's always a saying we hear, behind every successful man, there is a woman, right? But I think it's not wrong for us to say that behind every successful woman, there's also a man, or for me, will be my life partner.
Yeah.
You agree, Sophie?
Yeah, I think it's true because we need a supporting system. And also, Rashim, we are trying to bring you to Singapore. So when you are in Singapore, I can tell you one thing that Yati owe you is her home cooked food, because Yati is so good at cooking this Malay local food, a bit spicy, but I think it's very, very.
Oh, I'm an Indian. I can tolerate all levels of spice.
Bring your children to Singapore, yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are all in for that. Yes, so that's important. And I have been blessed. I think that's one of the smart things that I did in life. I married somebody who was totally supportive of what I did. There was a point in time where my husband and I both had very good opportunities in our career. We had to make a decision because we had kids to decide if I was going to go fast track full steam on in my career, or was he, if he was going to go, because only one of us could do it at that time given little kids. And we sat down and we were discussing about it, and he said, I know you would be really, really unhappy in the life that you have if you do not take this opportunity. So for now, I will go slow and you go fast on this one. And that just built so much trust in the family. And he has been like, I wake up with crazy ideas. I kid you not. I got up one day and I asked him, how does EVOW sound? And he says, for what? I said, I'm starting a company. I'm starting an initiative. And he says, what? And I said, yeah. And he says, that sounds great. Go for it. How can I help? That was the only 2 sentences that we spoke about me starting this initiative and dedicating my life to it. And he has never, ever complained about it.
How wonderful, right? So I think
Absolutely.
This is the good time to ask. I think there's some men want to
question, Sophie. And I think, okay, there's one question. How do you juggle your time between your full-time technology job with your successful EWOW venture? I think Rashim more or less has spoken about that, right, just now. Okay, there's another question. What do you do to silence the gremlins, the internal voices that try to self-sabotage you? I think that's a very good question. Thank you.
This is a very good question. And I was talking about imposter syndrome. By the way, when we share the resources with everybody, yes, there's a dedicated video that I did on imposter syndrome, and there's a podcast as well. I often deal with imposter syndrome. Last time I dealt with it was about 1 year back when I joined Skillsoft. And everybody at Skillsoft is 20 years or more they've spent at Skillsoft, all of my leaders. And for me, it was like, oh my God, they know so much about Skillsoft that I can never ramp up to that knowledge. And I was dealing with it. But the most important thing to realize is that you are where you are because you're meant to be where you are. People saw that talent in you, and that's why you are there. And it's okay to feel like you don't know anything, because that gives you the power to be curious, to ask right questions, to build that growth mindset and go after it. So a little bit of that fear, a little bit of that imposter syndrome is great. And that slide that, by the way, was shown in the very beginning of my introduction, I keep that slide handy with me all the time. Anytime I start feeling not good about myself, start feeling that I'm not good enough, I remind myself that these are my successes. And this is not me defining my successes, it's everybody around me defining those successes as well. And that puts me in a completely different mind frame altogether. So it's very, very important to do that. If you're dealing with imposter syndrome, in fact, I have it right here. I have a little notebook. I do my affirmations early in the morning. I write about how I want my day to be. And I always write that I'm valued for who I am.
So powerful, Rashim. I will steal your sentence. You are who you are wherever you are. That is so good. And then the next thing is affirmation. So affirmation will, diminish all the gremlin that Yati was talking about. There's another guy want to ask you a question is how you bring your children early on to build the right mindset.
I think from the very beginning, the way it all starts with how it is at home. So we have a very we call it a circle of trust. So 5 of us, my mom, my husband, I, and my kids, we created that safe environment early on in our life, in our family, when we started our family, that we'll have open conversations about things. We'll talk about things. We might decide to disagree on certain things, but as a family, we'll commit to it. And that was very important for us. So there were times when kids felt uncomfortable about me leaving. And when I remember when I was working for AWS, I would take day trips to Seattle. I would leave 5 o'clock in the morning. I would come back past midnight. And again, next day morning, I was working. And the kids, although they felt bad about it, they knew why mama had to do what she was doing. And they are very, very appreciative of that. And there's so many times when the kids really come back to me and say, Mom, like, we are really grateful to have you in our life. And we know what you're doing. And there are times when my daughter, for example, would say, I really don't want you to do this event today. And my son would say, don't forget, Mama is going there to inspire so many other women. And once they started seeing how people came to me afterwards and wrote those beautiful emails and thank you notes to me, how maybe a session or my advice changed their lives, they saw meaning in it. So, and that becomes powerful. I think you have to build that trust relationship in your family. And when everybody is clear about the purpose and why you are doing things that you are doing, what is the purpose behind it, it just makes sense to everybody.
Wow, I think circle of trust, openness, and commitment is so powerful. So I really take so many notes in my mind. Luckily, it's recording, so I say I can re-listen and write again. But there's so many impactful advice that you give. Maybe to wrap up the session, what is your top 1 or 2 maximum advice for all the women out there when they juggle, when they want to be good at everything? What kind of final advice from you, Rashim?
I think if I had to just give one advice, I would say set up a monthly meeting with yourself. Do a monthly business review with yourself. That is extremely important, right? We do monthly business reviews with our stakeholders, with our managers. We probably have conversations with our spouses about at the end of the month about finances and everything else, but we never spend that time with us to understand what is my goal for next month? Where am I heading? What is my purpose? Because once you have clarity around that, then everything else falls into place. And that's the most important piece, because we do not meet with ourselves. And I do this every month. First of the month, I have calendar time. I sit down and I really spend time with myself. So I have personal goals. I have professional goals. I want to understand how my platform is growing, for example, or I want to understand, how did I give back to the community? That's important to me. And just taking a stock of that and identifying what the successes were and where the opportunities lie, just get you excited about life.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah, you are right. I always do business review with my partner, business review with my boss. I never have business review with myself. So I think I will take that my takeaway for the session today. And then also is a very good review of the past and the goal that I want to achieve short term and long term. That is so powerful. Yati, maybe this is a good time for you to share what Rashim give for everybody.
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Rashim, for such inspiring sharing. So everyone, today we are very grateful to Rashim. On top of the empowering gift pack, Rashim is kind enough to offer us this additional gifts. There is actually the link to the gratitude affirmations that Rashim was talking about, as well as her podcast and her YouTube. So you all will be receiving these additional gifts in the email that we will be sending at the end of this session. So Rashim, I wish you all the best. I know it is always nice to have like the entire evening with you, but we have a lot more speakers, many more speakers is coming after this. So we wish you well, Rashim, and please stay on if you can to enjoy the rest of the segments.
Thank you so much for having me over here, and wishing you all the best in your journey, everyone.
As well as thank you, Sophie, for being able to come with us today.
Thank you.